So some of you have asked about books that I'm reading for 2023. And for 2023, I'm going to be doing a lot of finance, accounting, math, and then on the side, I'll do some general business books. When I say general business books, I kind of mean like Shoe Dog, Phil Knight book, 4 by Scott Galloway. Just books written by maybe journalists or people who have business degrees or ran a business and they're writing about their business, okay? Those are kind of what I mean by business books. And then for finance and accounting, I'm mostly going to try and stick to textbooks. I want to do at least 9 textbooks in finance and accounting. And then for math, I will also mostly be sticking to textbooks. The way this reading list is set up, by the way, is very much like a university would set up their reading lists, where it's not just a 1-year reading list, but it's more like a 2 or 3 year plan. Because next year I want to go into some more advanced finance and accounting books, and as well as some advanced math books. This year I'll focus on the foundations, even if some of it's rudimentary, because some of it is rudimentary obviously. I do want to be familiarized with it again, because I haven't done it for a very long time. So this year will be the beginning, next year will be more advanced. In specific as well, my reading list is meant to focus on financial statements, like understanding the fundamentals of a business, how businesses manage their money, where they spend it. I do want to do more stuff with the stock markets this year. I'm looking at buying Polish stocks. Today I will actually go and look at the Warsaw Stock Exchange. I looked at Portugal stocks because I looked at some GDP data, some macro GDP data for Portugal, and it seems slightly promising. So I do want to look at Portugal stocks. I think they only have 40 companies on their stock exchange. And also there are some political changes this year in some of the countries I am currently invested in, and so I need to actually rearrange my portfolio to accommodate for those political changes that are going to happen. So a lot of my stuff is going to be oriented towards reading financial statements. There is also some technical analysis, but I will do technical analysis next year. I don't want to get too bogged down into technical analysis because I fundamentally believe that the Buffettology, or like the Buffett strategy of value investing, where you view it that you're buying shares into a company, or you're taking ownership into a company. And if you're going to take ownership into a company, you need to make sure that the fundamentals of the business are correct. There is no shortage of stocks where if you use like the Buffett strategy, where you can find stocks that are, their growth is really good on like the ticker, if you look at their market movements, but the fundamentals of the company will be really bad. So for example, you'll have like, say you have $10 billion in revenue, then cost of sales will be $9 billion, so 90% of their revenue is actually being chewed up before you even get to gross profit. And on top of that, a lot of these companies will have 60 to 70% of their gross profit chewed up as well. So their operating income is extremely low, and that doesn't leave a lot of room for net profit after taxes, right? Buffett takes this idea that if you want money for the investor and you are the investor, you need to make sure the company's not wasting money, but also that they have a lot of money not only after their revenue, but also after their operating expenses and after taxes and so on and so forth. Not all the money's gone. You'll be surprised how many companies do not have this fundamentally. When I looked at the Portugal Stock Exchange yesterday, I only found 4 companies that really actually have this. I checked 40 of them. Only 4 companies had it. Same thing holds true with America. A lot of companies don't have this. Anyways, yeah, so basically studying a lot of financial statements and value investing this year is my goal. And then to do some of the basic math to prepare myself for the more advanced stuff next year. That will be my 2023 reading aims. That's my priority. Now there are some other things I want to do this year, and I will explain those. I do really want to go through a stack I started last year, which was a stack on happiness. I wanted to do a bunch of books on happiness. I have them somewhere on the shelf. It's off screen, but you can't see it. So I have a stack of happiness books I want to go through. I don't know if I'll get through all of them. There's about 9. I have a history of psychology / psychiatry / mental health. I have a stack like this that I want to get through. I don't want to review these books for you guys. Again, I'm short on time. And then I have another stack that I'm starting this year, but I don't think I will get through, which is One Country, One History book, right? So all 256 countries or whatever it is, do one book for them. So far I have Afghanistan. I'm doing them alphabetically. I have Afghanistan, Albania, and Algeria so far, I think. Now, as much as I do want to get all these reading goals done, I do have goals outside of reading that also will take a lot of time. Some of you might not know because I haven't marketed the book very well. I have written one of my first books. I've written a book, and I want to put out a second edition. I've been trying for like a year now to put out a second edition. I added a bunch of new chapters. I wrote 2 of them. But I have like a reading list that I want to go through to get back into the topic of that book, which is primarily philosophy. And my second book is, I think I have 65,000 words out of 90,000. I have to write some more chapters for that book, and I have them mapped out. I just need to find the time to get to them. And I do want to sell more copies of my second and my first book as well. So yeah, that's another goal I have this year on top of all those other goals. So when you make reading lists, and like what I have done is made a 2023 reading list, you might not finish it all, and that's okay. Like maybe this could be the 2023-2024 reading list. I'm a bit suspicious because math books are not slow. Basically, like the way I've designed this list is I'm at like the threshold where, you know, like you've probably made book stacks before, right? Where you make your to be read list. Like I'm gonna read that this year, but you know, like that. Usually when I make a stack that big, I don't finish it. But if I make a stack a little bit smaller, I usually finish it. I'm at that threshold where like I think I might have just exceeded a stack that's too big. I might have just exceeded it. We'll see what happens. Hopefully I can finish them because I do need to read those books in order to not lose all my money on the stock market. But yeah, I'll show a clip of the books that I'm actually going to read. I'll do that right now. And with that being said, okay, actually no, the video's not going to be done. I'll show you the books. Okay, so here's some of the finance books. The Manual of Ideas is a book about value investing. The Financial Markets is just, obviously, it's a financial markets book. It's going to go over like all the basics. The Rise of the Mutual Funds, I didn't read this book yet. I wanted to read it. I don't know. I don't really like mutual funds, but at the same time, they're a bit less risky. So I'll see what's going on there. Competitive Advantage of Nations, Competitive Strategy, and Competitive Advantage is by Michael E. Porter. And he talks about identifying competitive advantages in companies. And Warren Buffett's whole shtick about like investing is identifying durable competitive advantages. Real estate investing. I do want to get into real estate, and so I want to learn a little bit about it. History of Economic Thought. This is on here because I think anybody who is reading financial statements also needs to understand the GDP trends, the macro economic trends of a country. So I think that's important to just not be detached from that. Analysis of financial management, that's money managing. International marketing is just in there because I do want to do some marketing. And then the economics of money, banking, and financial markets. Again, it's important for stocks. Labor market economics. This is an old textbook I had, but I want to go through it again. The American market was supposedly had just recovered yesterday, and it was because of the jobs data that was released. So jobs in the stock market are linked together. And then an accounting textbook at the bottom. Now the next stack is going to be number systems, the foundations of analysis. Statistics for Dummies, Excel for Dummies. People have said don't use Excel, and some people have said do Excel, that Excel is like much easier for just tracking like your balance sheets. So I'm going to learn Excel, we'll see what's going on. This is just some foundations to math. I think this actually covers algebra, trigonometry, and statistics, but I actually wanted it just for the algebra component. It's really hard to find a good basic algebra book. Foundations of Geometry is actually a bit tongue-in-cheek. It's not really like an intro to geometry. It's actually a proof-based approach to geometry, and it's a little bit more difficult than like an intro to geometry. This is an old trigonometry book. I decided I'll go through this again. Reading and Understanding Multivariate Statistics, and Discrete Mathematics with Applications. So that's going to be my math stack. Now here's a stack of books that I want to read before writing the second edition of my philosophy book, because I want to do some introductory chapters. The Dream of Reason was actually gifted to me, and I decided to add it to the stack. The History of Philosophy. I do want to get the Cobblestone edition of the History of Philosophy, but that's also 12 books to read, so we'll see if I can. We'll see what goes on. My reading ambitions are too high. Consilience, The Unity of Knowledge. Early Greek Philosophers, obviously Bertrand Russell. I did start this book, then I stopped. Grayling, The Frontiers of Knowledge, and the Oxford Handbook of Epistemology. Now for business books, we have Shoe Dog Phil Knight. A Bookshop of the World, Genentech, Intel Trinity. I believe this is about a hedge fund. I don't know what it's called, The Billionaire's Apprentice. The World for Sale, Upstarts, Zucked, The $1 billion Molecule, The Antidote, Losing the Signal, Immortality Inc., and Empire of Pain. Those are some of the business books I'm going to read. They're not too technical. They're going to be easy to read. And then for some of you who have already been watching my channel, these are some of the books in happiness I was going to read. The Happiness Hypothesis, How to Stop... Actually, there's one up here. A Man's Search for Meaning, The Happiness Hypothesis, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, On the Good Life by Cicero, Happiness from like an Economist, Neuroscience of Happiness, Joy and Demand, which is actually a terrible book, but yeah, people read it, and The Art of Happiness. And then for like the mental health thing I was talking about, or like the history of psychiatry, I have The Disordered Mind, Doctoring the Mind, Why Psychiatric Treatments Fail, Why Psychiatry is Doing More Harm Than Good, The Myth of Mental Illness, Our Necessary Shadow is a History of Psychiatry, Michael Foucault. I'm going to give Foucault a chance. Everyone said he's good, but I don't like his writing style. But if you read one of his books, apparently this is the book to read. Philosophy of Psychopharmacology, Asylums by Irving Goffman, Madness Explained by Richard B. Bentall. He also wrote one of the books up here, did he not? Yeah, Doctoring the Mind. Mad in America, I believe this is about schizophrenia, psychiatry and its discontents. And actually, I just want to read about child psychopathology. I never read about it before, so I do want to read some of that. Now, here are the books. Where am I, Kim? Sorry, it's so shaky. Here are the books on Afghanistan. Return of a King. It's not Tolkien. It's not Lord of the Rings. I believe it's about a specific war, the battle for Afghanistan. I think it's with the British. That's my book. I think the one I wrote. Kabul, Farewell Kabul. It's like a journalist in Afghanistan. And then since those two books actually weren't what I was looking for, it was actually surprisingly difficult to find books in Afghanistan. I got this bad boy, and yeah, it's a thick boy. So those are the books I want to read for the year. And if I can even sneak in, I got these. I'm so glad I found these. I got these on Amazon. Jeff Bezos' algorithm recommended to me. History of Judaism, History of the Bible, History of Christianity, and I do have a History of Islam somewhere. If I could sneak these books in this year, çok güzel, that would be amazing, right? But my goals, as you can see, are already a bit too ambitious, and my primary focus is going to be on finance and accounting. I still want to read these too. Oh, yeah, there's so many good books that I want to read here. So that's my 23 reading goals, guys. I have enough books to be read for like years. Here's some of the more advanced math books I'll do next year. Yeah, let me know if you have any suggestions for accounting books. I'm a bit weak on accounting books. But with that being said, hadi bye bye.